And now, only on KGRA Radio, this is the Starborn Connection. Join your hosts, Michael Austin Melton and Julia Yesner-Weiss.
Welcome, everyone, to the November 11th edition of the Starborn Connection. We've got a great show for you tonight. But I want to first introduce us. We're your hosts. You know me, Michael Austin Melton, and my graceful and brilliant co-host, Julia Yesner-Weiss. How are you, Julia?
Great on the 11th portal.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that.
It's a good day for manifestation, so keep thinking those positive thoughts.
Wow! And also, if you will please welcome our ever-present and resident expert on all things radio broadcasting, Bill Skywatcher.
Good
doing,
evening,
Bill?
Michael and Julia. And Michael, we're glad to have you back. Julia did a wonderful job last week.
I didn't even have to ask. I know that.
But it's great to have you back and looking forward to your guest tonight. But before we begin, I just want to say a happy Veterans Day to all our vets out there and their families, the service that they've done. And we remember those that we lost for our freedoms here in our country. And yes, happy Veterans Day to all the vets out there.
Here. Same
Absolutely.
for me. Yeah. I was busy this morning taking my wife out to all the free stuff. She's a Gulf War I vet in the Air Force. So busy Saturday.
Yep.
All right. I have a rather lengthy report from Ilona, Ivana, and Oli, our resident alien. I have everything ready. Remember last week I said that I was, kind of having a hard time getting everything together because of the intensity of it and all that kind of stuff. And I was still getting information too. But everything's in order. So we're going to get into that. Then our guest, wonderful guest, Reverend Michael Carter. How you doing, Michael?
I'm okay, gang. Yes, happy Veterans Day to everyone.
I'll give you the formal introduction in just a few. After that, Julia will give us our weekly reflection and insight regarding the ascension process, and Reverend Carter will be with us for that as well, so that we can hear his opinions and comments. So, if everybody's ready, let's go. Okay, I have everything here from Oli. This is actually the October 8th message. There is one coming for October 15th. And I may not get that for a couple of weeks, which is great because next week and the following week we're going to be off. The following week is Thanksgiving. Next week is we're just lazy. We just want to... No, actually...
I just want to go out to dinner on a Saturday night.
That's it. But my week is filled with so much. It's not fair to a guest to have to, not be able to prepare. But here we go. All right. Now, very interesting one, this one. Okay. Oli welcomes everyone with the usual welcome. He says, Hallelujah. And I don't know how to pronounce that yet. And he says, welcome. Let's say there is a Joseph K. of the Czech Republic who asked Oli a question. This is basically, some people are asking Oli questions, and he's coming through with some answers. So this Joseph K. asks, how do I change the matrix, and how do I cancel the grid of ignorance? I've never heard that before, the grid of ignorance. But Oli says in return, the matrix is science fiction. The grid of ignorance is the same in this thinking. It's all suggestive thinking. The Matrix is a mere word in the sci-fi dictionary. There are other programs that govern your system of the universe. So Supervisor Super Soldier James Rink asks this question. He is asking for instructions on how to build a device called a Hanator, Hanator. And he wanted the schematics for it. No one on Earth knows how to build this machine. No one else knows about it but James Rink. Let's see. He says, no thought. Maybe you will find out if we have a building that could bring back some spirit so that you can talk to him. It would change the world. Death has no meaning, and people find answers to crimes and puzzles. And the next question he asked was, who was Nikola Tesla? Ali answers, yes, about the Hanator. Yes, this is physics. The schema does not work properly. Physical packaging. Hanator is the physical construction module in the heart of the quarry. And I'm not sure what the quarry is. Perhaps maybe the building block area. Genetics or something like that. Now they follow up with, we cannot say more. It could hurt another technology between the galactic procedure. If we told about this scheme from this equation. So then he ends his answer about this with Nikola Tesla had full diagrams of the physics between space-time flights. He says further, Nikola Tesla studied physics on gravity and teleportation. He knew physics was needed and he consulted with the higher beings. We cannot interfere with it. I tell you that Nikola Tesla, his energy is in the flow of time. He could travel between worlds. There is currently a clone in between. He left his body at the expense of his experiment and left his soul in between space. The in between space, meaning space here, space there, in between space. Kind of like a midway point between two planes of existence. He knew how to pass in time. And this can be done by every intelligent being that deals with this. It's called metric physics. He was in touch with the civilized intellect from the planet Valum, V-A-L-U-M, or Valum. I hate to say it that way, but Valum. There is a planet system in the whole universe. There is no number. There is only a letter or a letter in yours, and the letter is A8. It is known to you on Earth. It's material mathematics, writing, and dimensioning, as the workbook says. So that's kind of cryptic. First of all, you don't know what the workbook is. And he's talking about, I'll tell you what, a planetary system that he doesn't give us a location. Maybe that was intentional. Well, anyway, this is a really good, this is a great question. The question is from Peter Anthony Flynn, and he asks if EBE knows anything about the planet Serpent and the 12 astronauts, the 12 astronauts who visited the planet Serpo in 1965 and 1978, etc. So Oli says, we know about secret programs. It is not the only one. We do not know every name and surname. But within our limits, there is only a resolution of the identification that the commander approves of us. For people like you, Ivana's medium, and Ilona. Cosmonauts do not live as they should. It was dangerous research. There are many researchers out there. Serpo is a research planet. Serpo, that's what the scientists calls it. It is a desolate planet where it is cold and not very popular. They are covered well for research there. There is no leak, but it's an unhealthy planet. Now he asks something personal, and we do have an answer. He says, and what about astronaut Ken Johnson? And Oli answers, he has contact with civilization, but with a different one than we are. So it's not Oli's race that they're dealing with. However, he says, I must not communicate any more about it. Everyone has a task with you on Earth. Cosmic rules. Ken Johnson and he know about each other. He has not been explained. I don't know who he is. The energy in him is vegan feelings, heavy oxygen. We do not recognize the cosmonauts' ropes. Is everything all right? I hear Bill?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, I'm hearing beep beeps and breathing.
Yeah, I was wondering what that was myself. Julia and I were talking off the air, messaging. We're like, what is that? I actually thought it was some kind of paranormal thing going on. I was getting a little nervous.
I was thinking, wow, it sounds creepy. Michael, you're okay, right?
Yeah. You may have heard someone texted me on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No problem. All right. Okay. He goes on to say, our civilization has met in space a few times with your rockets. Yes, the identification of Ken Johnson, he knows this. Time unit. Things are like really tough because you get these little cuts of messages. Your astronauts are exploring planets that are not needed to be explored. Your astronauts are afraid to risk their quote-unquote new technology. In laboratories, everything is connected with technologies with other races. Ilona, you are like a puppet for America. And I don't think he meant puppet. I think he meant kind of like conduit for America. Yeah. We do not like hypocrisy. I, like Oli, I would like to cooperate in a concerted and loving full debut, which I'm assuming means here we are, kind of a revelation thing. So he continues, people are stuck in the monitor like flies on a flywheel. Not all of our communications must be the same perfect. It does not work like that. There are various discharges of energy spirals and various fragments that do not go so fast. People among people can talk all day and a lot, but we are not human, and our communication is very unique to your Earth. Tell the world, and we do not want anyone to try. Our dear colleague of our dimension fell badly in 1944 when he fell into the hands of the chief of the underground shell, the underground cave. They asked him very much. He could not answer all, and his energy was gone. Many scientists have been questioning our fragile beings and have restricted it in our normal life. At the time chaos was in America, across America, there are many underground caves that are connected. It is the uppermost continent and the inner, the lower continent. Your Earth is spread over multiple layers just because of the artificial intelligence that is in operation at large. Underground canals serve for all space. They are mysterious. For different members, activities, and different hierarchies, researchers, and everything else. There is more active underground on your Earth than there is above. Okay, somebody asks about the Haarp system, and this is his answer. The earthquake and everything is the result. They kind of speech like the Pennsylvania Dutch. You know, they kind of like have a special way the sentences come out. So the earthquake and everything is the result. Your Earth on the surface looks like a matrix. Nibiru and everything comes at one moment, as it once was, but it was another evolution of mankind. We know what that means. A previous period where, life flourished in intelligence. Let's see. Underground components were not previously activated and associated with other civilizations so fervently as they are now. You're saying time, but it's not matrix. That's just a dull part of existence. Only the universe works. If people start to perceive and understand the universe, they would no longer use the matrix. This is cosmic science. Yes, people do not believe much of that in America. We know that. Okay, so he continues. We do not have to see them. We have the energy that knows it. We can know the Oh, this is really wild because he calls me by name. We have the energy that knows it. We can know the identification of some people. We have access. This is our commander. Michael Melton is a man who has a rich structure. He has a radio talk show. We know we are tuned to the same frequency at the time it broadcasts the radio in America.
He's listening now. Hi, Ollie.
Yes, people like to listen. Energy is getting weaker. We know we cannot see or hear, but it's important to connect via Ivan, a biological computer. This is essential, but we've seen our ships several times. And if I can turn this page, we'll get going. Oh, static electricity. When the commander gives us the task, we'll show up. You people must not hurry at all. People are afraid of the end of the world, but the end does not happen yet. There must first be changes in the developmental and biological technologies. Then decide whether your Earth is needed for future life, whether they will inhabit your whole planet of artificial intelligence or another planet. It's a test for Earth. People should not hurry at everything. Everything will go alone suddenly as it is. Okay, and so he answers yes, kind of like enthusiastic yes, and Alleluia, he leaves us. Now there's a little blurb that I got from Ilona about the messages coming up, and the only thing she was really able to discern was this one sentence: the pyramids are endowed with a warning signal of the events under your surface. The pyramids send impulses to the cosmic spiral. So next, well, actually, it won't be December 2nd. It'll be the show after that. What is coming is a large amount of information. It's going to take Ilona a couple of weeks to get it translated. So it was a 45-minute long session, she said today. Any of you guys have any comments about what I read?
Wow. Well, do you think Ollie knew about you or our show And he told Ilana and those guys to go through us. Is that what I'm led to believe? That
no, I think he just recognized that,
we've been doing it. Yeah.
When he says, I have a rich structure, I think it means that I have a really nice system to get messages out there. I've got you.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got you. I've got Bill. I've got myself. We're all able to research. We're all very intelligent. So, I think he knows about that, and I think he appreciates the show.
So he's listening, you think?
He's listening. Oli is listening now. Oh,
hey,
we
Oli.
welcome you to the airwaves.
We welcome you, Oli.
what I hope, Oli, is that I am translating the information correctly.
Right. Correct.
And I want you to let me know if I'm not. So I offer him that. Ooh. Did I just start something I didn't want to?
Before you bring Michael on, before you bring Reverend Carter on, I just want both of you to know, because I can hear everything that goes on through the board. I am really freaking out on my end with a creepy vibe, because I am hearing like what sounds like a gremlin moaning. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I
can't. Yeah.
I am going to check this show in the archives, and I'm going to have to evaluate it, because I honestly think that something's going on, and I'm laughing, but it's not a joke. I actually am hearing.
Yeah. And nervous laughter.
Yeah, and I'm watching as the sounds are coming out through the Skype, and it's not coming from any one individual. It's just like there. If you kind of know what I mean. It's
of a directed beam.
Yeah, and you're speaking about Oli and the show, and I'm getting a vibe. That's all I'm going to say.
Boy,
I'm getting a vibe.
It only proves that they're out there, man. That's good.
And a segue to Michael and his experience. So,
yeah. Well, let me give you the 25-cent introduction.
You never use 25-cent words?
No, the other one was like 2 cents. I just mentioned her name. This is the big one. Want everybody to know. Listen, whether you've heard of Michael Carter or not, you will. Reverend Michael Carter is originally from Baltimore, Maryland. He moved to New York City in 1980 and lived there for 25 years, working as a professional actor before moving to Asheville, North Carolina with his family. Michael is an ordained interfaith minister and received his BA degree in letters from the College of New Rochelle, where he graduated cum laude. That's Latin for with praise. He received his master's in divinity degree from Union Theological Seminary in New York City, class of 2000. While serving various Unitarian Universalist congregations in New York, Michael was trained as an anti-racism trainer and has been recognized by President Clinton for his efforts. I wish it was still President Clinton for his efforts. Did I say that? Michael is also a weekly columnist for the Asheville Citizen-Times. Reverend Carter now serves as the minister for the Unitarian Universalist congregation of the Shenandoah Valley in the beautiful mountains of western North Carolina. Now, Reverend Carter has written all kinds of articles on UFOs and religion for such publications as UFO Magazine, Alien Encounters, which is a British publication, the MUFON UFO Journal, and a handful of others. He has spoken at UFO conferences such as the ARE Ancient Mysteries Conference, the Second Philadelphia Need to Know Conference, the annual Long Island UFO Conference with Bud Hopkins, as well as appearing on radio and TV appearances across the nation. He's been on many shows, and I think you'll probably remember him most from Ancient Aliens, where I think you had a lot of screen time this year, Michael. You saw yourself. Yeah. He has also appeared on the Shirley MacLaine radio program. Michael has lectured at the Joshua Tree at Contact in the Desert Conference and at the Edgar Casey Institute in Virginia Beach with Eric Von Daniken. Wow, that's wow. John Anthony West and others. Now, Michael is a longtime UFO experiencer. He lectures extensively on the topic. He has appeared on lots of different channels and in many, many shows. Now, he has 2 books out there in trade. Reverend Carter's books are entitled Alien Scriptures, Extraterrestrials in the Holy Bible, A New World, If You Can Take It, and God, Extraterrestrials, and the Evolution of Human Consciousness, God Consciousness, and it's a 30-day meditation manual to achieve God-centered thinking and the metaphysics of spiritual healing and the power of affirmative prayer. I think that's 4 books, yeah. Yeah, that's 4 books, I'm sorry. Oh, Michael, I'm so sorry. I ran 2 of them together.
It's okay, Mike. We're all tired here tonight.
Okay. Maybe I should have given a 15-cent interval. I don't know.
Yeah. When a 10-cent one would have done.
Well, exactly.
I believe Mark Twain said that. Never use a 50-cent word when a 25-cent word will do.
Yes, that was Mark Twain, I believe. Well, anyway, how have you been and what you've been up to?
Well, my friend, first of all, it's good to be here. Welcome home to all those vets out there. And I've been good. I turned 60 this past summer.
Ah.
And wow. Yeah, that's...
You still look young and handsome.
You know what, Julia? God bless you for saying that. I don't feel it all the time, but I'm doing pretty well. My daughter's growing up pretty quickly.
Oh, she's a beauty. She really is.
Oh, well, she gets that from her mom. She's been a joy, and I've just been working at the church. We've been growing, pretty rapidly, which I'm always thankful for. And but because it's an older congregation, I think the median age of our congregation, which is changing, but it's probably about 65 years old. So, people are getting cancer, people are dying. So it's been keeping me off the streets, as it were. But the weather's getting really lovely here. It's nice and crisp and cool, and life has been kind. And it's been a while. I saw Bill this summer. We were hanging out in Manhattan for a minute, and hopefully I'll get back up there in a couple months. But it's always good to be on the show. Saw your name today, Michael, because you got to get your chapter ready for the book.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm
right
writing.
On the corner.
Yeah, I'm writing a chapter in Ray's new book that's coming out. I don't know. Hopefully next year.
Yeah, they said January.
May or January or something. Anyway, he said I have 3 months, so we got to jump on that.
I'm telling you.
So, listen, I was curious. In your church, in your area, have you had anybody come to you with UFO experiences or anything like that?
I have, and I must tell you, there was one person who tried to get me fired.
Whoa.
Yeah. She's oh, God bless her. She's difficult. She just lost her husband. He died while she was away in the Philippines, so she had to fly back. Yeah, but she just couldn't get it. She couldn't wrap her mind around that her minister believed in off-world intelligences. And so, I don't preach it from my pulpit. I may slip. I slip more metaphysics in my sermons now than usual, but it's not overt, and I'm not trying to shove it down people's throats. Mm-hmm. But it just really bugged her. And she actively tried to get me removed. But our board in the Unitarian Universalist paradigm, see, we don't have a bishop or a diocese. Our churches are run by the democratically elected board of trustees. Mm-hmm. And so they just stepped in and they said, look, he's not hurting anybody. He doesn't preach this from a pulpit. It's not a UFO church, and they kind of back me on it. So she's left the church, but even then, people have come because they saw ancient aliens or UFOs, the hidden evidence, which is running now, and they would come between me and them. And you know how you used to refer people to me.
Yes.
And hopefully I didn't damage them any more than they were. But they'll come and talk to me about it. We actually had Stephen Greer's latest documentary shown at our church a few months ago. So we're coming along. I wasn't there. When I get a day off, I try to take it. But we're pretty open now to the visible and the invisible and the unknown, which is pretty rare for UU Church because we're pretty left-brain people in general,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good because, over time, I think people are going to come to realize that there are many different planes.
Yes.
Some we are sitting right on top of, that are, working right now, right where we are.
Well, we probably have people listening to us.
Yes, absolutely. But I don't know. It's a hard sell for a lot of people.
It is, and it was a hard sell for me. When I was younger, because I was so, and to listeners out there, I'm not saying the Bible is wrong or anything like that, but I remember someone asking me downtown Baltimore. I don't know how we got on the subject, but they said to me, and I was a kid, "You don't believe in life on other planets?" And I said, "No." And they said, "You're joking." And they said, "Why? Why not?" And I said, "Because it's not in the Bible." That's what I said. That's what I said to someone. And now here I am saying that it's all in the Bible and it's in other places as well. So you never know what a difference 50 years makes. But, everybody, you can't get everybody to agree on a car accident if we all see it at one time. So,
exactly.
I just try to meet people where they are. But I will say this, Michael, at the beginning of your show, obviously y'all were introducing some channeled material. Am I correct about that?
Yes, this is from two young ladies in Czechoslovakia who are channeling this entity, Oli.
Yeah. So it's interesting because, life being cyclical instead of linear, I find myself at 60, I'm going back and reading Jane Roberts and reading the Michael material and just reading all this Seth material, just reading all this channel stuff because I used to cut my teeth on that stuff. And then I got I don't know what it was. Maybe I needed to just step back because, it's all subjective and you just got to kind of discern what rings true to you. But now I'm reading all this stuff again and with a different insight because I'm a different person now than when I was 30 years ago. So it really is fascinating.
Oh yeah, I agree. The spread of knowledge, people. For example, my wife was a hard sell. She didn't believe. She just thought that there's nothing out there. But now her attitude has changed, and instead of saying there's nobody out there, what she'll say is, "I know they're there, but I'd rather clean a drawer."
Right. Well, I hear that. And welcome home to her too. I think you said she served. And,
yes, she did.
Gulf War. Yeah. Well, I'm glad she made it back.
Me too.
But yeah, man. I mean, it's all grist for the mill. I've been thinking about a lot of different things, and I'm glad I wanted to tell you this while I got y'all on the line. Barry Downing, who's my mentor in a lot of ways, he just came out with a new book. For people who don't know, Dr. Downing wrote a book called The Bible and Flying Saucers back in 1968.
Right.
And besides Dr. King, Barry is my brother and my good friend, and he just wrote a new book called Biblical UFO Revelations. He's the first minister that I knew who risked being, he's a Presbyterian, retired. I mean, they don't excommunicate Presbyterians, but you get what I mean. That, it's the whole heresy thing. He just came out with a book called Biblical UFO Revelations: Did Extraterrestrial Powers Cause Ancient Miracles? And it just came out. So I'm just putting that out there. He sent me a copy. And a gentleman by the name of John Chitty sent me a book. It's not new, but I was interested in it. It's called The Broken Bible: Picking Up the Extraterrestrial Pieces. So again, I submit this to you because we need more ministers, more clergy talking about this, but because these books are out, along with a few others, and mine included, it's getting the word out to people that, this is not incongruent with religion. No one's trying to tear down the walls of religion, but we're trying to expand the paradigm to have a different conversation. So if you can get those books, what Barry's literally just came out about a week ago, and he sent it to me. So check it out.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Amazon and check that out. I have a copy of Barry's book and read it actually a couple of times, one years ago and one recently. I guess, Julia, you have a lot in common with Michael in the sense of, working with the Ascension, and, you have your guardian, not your guardians, but your, what do you call them?
Guides?
Guides.
Yeah, I have my guides.
Yeah.
Archangel Michael and those guys, yeah.
Yeah, we all do.
Oh, yeah. Some don't realize it.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I whisper to mine all the time,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it works. It works. It really does.
Yeah.
Those guys are close to us. Well, let me see.
No, the sky's the limit, Mike. We don't have to talk about anything.
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead,
Bill.
What would you say is like an example that you would take from the Bible that may depict some type of an encounter or an experience with maybe ETs? Because I always think of Ezekiel, the wheel within the wheel.
Oh, God.
That's a big
absolutely.
one.
That's number one.
No
Yeah.
question. Yeah. I would say, okay, Bill, I would say the Passover. Well, hold on. Let me back that up a bit. I would say Moses and the Red Sea splitting. I mean, because you don't have a Jewish religion until after that. There's no Judaism until Moses gets the Ten Commandments from Yahweh and says, you're my people and you got to follow these. I think what was 613 of them at first. They got them down to 10. But that's another one. Obviously, Jesus's ascension, if you will, his birth. The birth of John the Baptist, I would say, because again, me, I say that everywhere you see the word angel, if you put star person or extraterrestrial, it makes much more sense. Much more sense.
Yeah.
Because angel just means messenger, right? It's from the Greek, angelos. I got in trouble a few years ago, well, not trouble, but someone got very angry with me on a radio show because they said that, well, I've seen angels with wings, and I'm not saying angels don't have wings. I think that our ancestors drew wings on them to say these people could fly, but, I didn't say they don't have wings. I just noticed that nowhere in the First Testament, which is what we call the Old Testament, or the Second Testament, which is the New Testament, nowhere there are any of the angels described as having wings.
But
I'm saying they don't.
But they also use the term creatures. They don't say angels in Ezekiel, do they? When they're describing the creatures.
Not in there. They don't.
Oh, yeah, right. They're the creatures with so many eyes and all that stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
the different faces of an ox.
They're describing the ship.
Right.
But remember now, it depends on what translation you read, how it's interpreted. But again, okay, you can talk about Elijah. You can talk about who's the brother who they took his name out of the Bible? Enoch.
Oh, Enoch,
You know, if you
right.
get the book of Enoch, and he's talking about the watchers, and he mentions angels, but you know, it's quite obvious that he's
Yeah,
talking about
he's very
extraterrestrials.
explicit about it.
Very
Yeah.
explicit. I mean, maybe that's why they took it out of the Bible. So it's all in there. It's all in there, Bill. It's a great question. And you know, the flying, and you know, chariots. I think that we're using, our brothers and sisters back then were using the nomenclature, the vocabulary of their day.
Right.
So they're not going to say, "Oh my God, I saw this ship." They're going to say it's a flying chariot.
Right,
Or
right.
in the case of Moses, it's a pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. It's in the sky
Hmm.
and it's moving. And it stops and it starts. So if it's nothing, we know it's at least an unidentified flying object. And the Hebrew people are following this thing. So it's there. It's there. It's just if you want to see it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And in the Bible, there are a number of pieces of or works of art that clearly depict your UFOs in the sky. For example, the Annunciation with Saint Edimus. You can see a beautiful, perfect disc-shaped object.
I have some of those pictures.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable.
There's a wonderful book by Christopher Hurley, Hurley, called, and it's about UFOs in medieval paintings. And the book is worth it. It's a little pricey, but the color photographs are there. Well, yeah, there's, what's the picture by Ert de Gelder, the baptism of Jesus? And there's
I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, there's a ship over.
Oh my God, it's so clear.
While Jesus is being baptized, the light is shining down, and the voice, "This is my beloved Son." I mean, it's all
so these
there.
artists all knew. They must have all known something about the connection with UFOs.
Well, I've always said, why couldn't God have piloted a UFO?
Yes. Well, there's a book. There are two books called "Does God Drive a Flying Saucer?" I'm looking at them now. Pardon me. They're both by R, as in Robert, L, as in Larry, Dion. The first one is called "God Drives a Flying Saucer." The second one is called "Is God Supernatural? The 4,000-Year Misunderstanding." Now, as brilliant as Brother Dion is, I would push back because I don't want to reduce God to an astronaut.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I would say that because of the technology, obviously, they were God-like. But I think this intelligence we're talking about is beyond that.
Right.
It's source. It's the creative source.
Yeah, whatever word you use, because I know a lot of people get upset about that, and I'm not. I mean, if I say something that upsets people, I'm sorry, but I don't think God is an astronaut.
No,
I think
of course
that,
not. Yeah.
I think that because of their technology, and we're talking about very primitive people, that most likely they mistook these beings. It's kind of like the cargo thing. Remember in World War II, where these pilots landed in the Philippines, and you know, when we were fighting Japan, and these people had really never seen that kind of technology, you know, fighter pilots and airplanes, and they thought they were gods.
Yeah.
And they were just soldiers in the Air Force.
Because they come with such a display of technology, tanks, planes. Yeah.
It'll get your attention.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to say, you know, God flew a flying saucer either, but I mean, the analogy, why not? It might not be God, but it might be messengers, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why couldn't we be being visited by people that were maybe, you know, hired by God or appointed by God to be the, you know, the conduit between us and them and whoever else in the universe?
Well, it looks like in some ways this is exactly what may be happening, and I mean this is the success of shows like Ancient Aliens or UFOs. That, I mean, maybe 20, 30 years ago, a show like this wouldn't even been done, but now because there's an interest. the people are saying, hey, this could really be happening. And so it's a spirit moving in the land,
Right.
for lack of a better word. And I, for one, am so glad that this is happening.
Well, I think it's a full circle thing.
Yes.
And perhaps we will do it before we destroy ourselves. And basically, Oli says that they probably will not let that happen. I thought it was interesting also, though, when he said this time, and it raised my eyebrows, that he lost a companion or a friend or a shipmate in 1944, which is around that Roswell time, and there was Kenneth Arnold, and there were a few other military ones that were around there. And of course we have the 1898 viewing of a UFO that crashed on a farm. I don't even remember where that is, but I mean, all along, and for him to make a reference like that.
All right, and and wasn't it? Did they kill the brother who was on the ship, or he tried to escape? I think they beat him or killed him and buried him. There was one story about this brother who crashed.
Right,
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I think they really kind of put it to him, which is so natural, because what we don't understand, we will beat the you-know-what out of a bomb,
exactly.
Or whatever. But yeah, and they buried him. I think yeah. What a bummer. But I mean, that's a major bummer, man. You're looking for help, and next thing you know, you're dead. But it happens. It happens. I don't know. I still have hope. I have hope for the species. I think we can work this stuff out. But like you said, Mike, it can get apocalyptic really quickly.
Oh yeah. And, especially when you combine it with the Mayan prophecy and the this is the sixth extinction, I think they're talking about, and we've messed it up 5 previous times, so we better get it right this time.
We are. They're helping us. They're not going to do it for us, but they're helping us.
And I think that's a fair assessment. I think they are.
I do too.
They're dropping little hints here and there, and with people receiving downloads of information. One of the things I have to write about in this chapter is people receiving downloads of environmental type of
I saw the
information. Very, very cool. And how it refers to basically how we're destroying the world and how we will not succeed this time. Very, very clear message.
Well, I hope that's true. I know that sometimes it takes us as a species, it takes us a minute, and it can get danger close. But I think I also think that it makes you live life more fully. Do you know what I mean? I forgot who said it, but there was someone who said, was it Nietzsche, that death gives life an urgency.
Exactly.
Because you know that even if you don't, get vaporized, it's still, Marcus Aurelius says that death smiles at all of us, and all we can do is smile back.
Yeah.
And so when you know that, you hug your loved one a little tighter. You kind of try to stay in the moment more. And maybe I'm talking because I'm 60 now. Now, granted, people say 60 is no 50, then you're 50. That's true. But I'm still closer to the end of this journey than I am at the beginning. And so it's a little more precious now because I know that I'm not going to be here forever, and at least in this form. So maybe, it's a sobering kind of thing. That it's precious because it's finite. It's finite.
Yeah.
Before you guys continue, there is a question coming in from the chat room.
Excellent.
It's from John Ostains. He wants to know, Michael, Are you familiar with the Nation of Islam's belief in UFOs? And if so, what is your impression of that belief system?
Nice question.
Yes, I am. I am very much aware. I was contacted by a brother from the Nation about a year or two ago when my book came out. First of all, I think that that's wonderful. I commend that. I just think there's a little. I'm not on board with the interpretation because it's very much divisive. And Elijah Muhammad, blessed be he, I think he was a genius that he got black men to come together. He did. When I lived in New York and I would go to Brooklyn and some of the projects and stuff there, they couldn't stop, the police couldn't stop the drugs from flowing. But when these brothers from the Nation went in, there were no more drugs. And so it made one wonder, well, how come the police or the government can't do this? For that, I applaud him. But for the theology, which is interpretation, which is what we're doing now, it was very divisive. And he was talking about this brother Jacob, who was a scientist on board of a ship, and it was the white people, all white people were this, and black folk were that. I just couldn't get with that because I felt that it was more divisive. And I think love brings people together. I'm not talking about love, kumbaya, let's all hold hands. I'm talking about that if I'm going to incorporate a spiritual message, I can't go with the divisiveness. And I thought that their interpretation, and I wasn't there. Maybe this is what this star person told Elijah Muhammad, but I couldn't be with that. So doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's not for me. But again, I am aware of it. It was a great question. I know Brother Malcolm was obviously aware of this. And at least they do admit that we're not alone in the universe. But how they interpret that message is problematic for me.
Yeah. I don't know much about that, but
yeah, you can research it. You can go. Yeah, it is. Yeah, this guy, a brother from the Nation, like I said, he contacted me, and there was a book out. You may be able to buy it. It looked pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I got so many books here, but yeah, they reached out, and I was very flattered.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, when somebody reaches out to you for information.
Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to say from before is that I just turned 61 this year. Yeah, and I found myself, and this is very interesting. I found myself really thinking about death, the afterlife, what I'm going to be doing. How's it going to work? Those questions like that. There really are no answers to unless you've been there and done that. But what it does for me, this integration, this information, is that it gives me a feeling of an expanded universe. I can look up into the sky, and I know that there are, we've got friends out there, we've got, relations out there, we have all kinds of different races, and that there's life out there.
Yes, and we're part of that life. I know, I think about it a little more than I usually do. And I have met people who have had near-death experiences, and I know they don't know each other. This is when I was working as a chaplain at various hospitals. And as a friend of mine says, well, Michael, they weren't dead. They were near death. But it's interesting that pretty much everybody tells the same story. And we'll be probably hearing about that, Michael, in the book from Free. But just interesting. The people who are Christian, they see Jesus at the end of the tunnel. The people who are Buddhist see Buddha. Interestingly enough, people who are agnostic or don't believe in any type of organized systematic religion, they always see a person or a being of light, and it's always this feeling of being loved and forgiven, if you will. So there's something going on. And Einstein reminds us, right, that energy cannot be destroyed.
Exactly.
It can only be transformed. And we are nothing if not energy. So consciousness goes on. The body dies, but consciousness goes on.
Well, I've always said and told people that God has many faces.
Yes.
You cannot discount one person's belief because of yours. That's not really the way to go.
Right.
It leaves us narrow-minded and closed off to other possibilities.
Yeah. And life is nothing if not choices and possibilities. So that's a journey we'll all take, and we'll find out sooner or later. And for those of us who believe in reincarnation, we probably already know. What was striking about the people that I did meet who had these NDEs, these near-death experiences, they no longer had a fear of death.
Yeah, that's a common thing.
I find that too, yeah.
They would say they no longer had a fear of death, that they knew life went on, and somehow it can make one wonder if that wasn't what the message of Jesus was, that there is no death, not really, that the body dies.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the original message, and it kind of got misinterpreted down the line. But certainly his life was about lessening the fear,
right,
and
right.
turning up the love.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, let us go to our one and only break tonight, right, Bill?
Yes. We're going to take that break.
Okay. We'll be right back. You are listening to the Starborn Connection radio show, and you can only find us here on KGRA, Alternative Talk Radio. By the way, if you missed this show, or if you want to hear it again, or maybe twice, you can download it for free on kgraradio.com. Our archives are free. We have a conference connection there where you can get information on future conferences, and especially those conferences where the KGRA crew with a K will be there to talk to you and tell you a little bit about the station and themselves. All right, we'll see you on the other side. Thank you, people.
It's AJ with Vibes Mind Body Spirit. The Vibes Tribe seeks to assist you in creating and maintaining an uplifting and balanced state of being in your personal space. Palo Santo is a mystical tree that grows on the coast of South America. Palo is loved by many for its energetic cleansing and healing properties, and is also popularized for its heavenly presence in keeping your energy grounded and clear. Burning Palo provides an uplifting scent to raise your vibration, and is also beneficial for relieving stress, anxiety, depression, and emotional pain. Palo Santo is also known for relieving symptoms of the common cold, headaches, and asthma. We offer Palo Santo in resin, powder, or by the stick. Go to onlinevibes.com for all of your vibration elevation needs and receive a free stick of Palo Santo with any online purchase over $25. Shop onlinevibes.com, that's onlinevibez.com, and get your vibes on today.
Does extraterrestrial life exist? Has Earth been visited by intelligences from other worlds? The answers to these questions await you on the MUFON Cruise. This January 6th through 11th, 2018, spend 5 nights aboard Royal Caribbean's Brilliance of the Seas and enjoy dinners and private lectures with speakers including legendary physicist and researcher Stanton Friedman, as well as researchers Kathleen Martin, Chase Kletsky, and MUFON investigators Tony Angiola and Ben Moss, and an exclusive Cozumel Island tour and beach day at Playa Mia. Make your reservations before time runs out by visiting holidaymakertravel.com today or by phone at 877-642-4308. That number again is 877-642-4308. Unravel the UFO mystery with leading researchers in the field. Visit MUFONcruises.com.
For years, the KGRA digital broadcast station has been your contact for live UFO paranormal talk radio worldwide, bringing you the top names in research and investigations 7 nights a week. Our listeners connect to the KGRA on various platforms like TalkStream Live, TuneIn, Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and many more. Now, you can stream your favorite paranormal talk radio shows with our new fully integrated custom KGRA mobile apps for Android and iPhones. Listen to your favorite paranormal talk shows from any mobile device 24/7, free with smartphone or tablet. Utilize custom features to access news, show pages, archives, contests, events, and live interactive chat room. Set show notification alerts and never miss your favorite live programs. All free and available to download in Google Play or the iTunes App Store. You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Welcome back to the second half of our show tonight. We're having a good laid-back, very nice, easy conversation tonight with Reverend Carter, and we are going to move onward. Any of you guys have questions you need to ask?
Well, I want to just put something out there just so you guys know, because I'll forget. I'm going to be at the UFO conference in Mesa. What's the name of it? It's going to be great. It's like the largest one.
Is that in February, Michael?
Yes.
UFO Congress.
Alejandro Rojas.
Yeah, UFO Congress.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and that's going to be nice. I always wanted to go. I'm not the keynote, but I get to do an hour, 15-minute talk, and I'll probably be pushing our book, Michael, the free book, because I think things will be kind of coming to a head around that time. I think the book may be we have to have it finished around that time, at least our part of it. So I'm going to go out there. Maybe I can sell a few of my books and then get back here in time for church on Sunday.
Wow.
But that's going to be in February. So really looking forward to that. And just to let people know that the chapter that I've been working on is about the spirituality or the transformation of spirituality with people who have had contact. So that's my chapter. And I'm very honored to be amongst these talented people.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's you as well, Michael, and to get another side of the story out there. That yes, there are people who've been traumatized. There are people who had really horrible things happen to them, and that's true. But it's also true that there are very benevolent beings out there that are making contacts, and people have experienced that, and that story needs to be told too. Again, it's like the NDEs. Once you've had that experience, your life has changed, and usually there's some type of spiritual experience. There's more acceptance, there's more love, there's more of a letting go, there's less of living life through the ego, and so we're writing about and exploring those experiences of people as well.
Yeah, my thing is the ego. You cannot operate through the ego to get to the answers. That's one thing that I just believe.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
This isn't an independent journey. This is a journey for all of us together.
I agree. I know there's some mental health professionals and some philosophers and therapists who would say, you got to have an ego. I mean, it's a very Western kind of paradigm, because your ego is also what there is such a thing as having a healthy ego. And so I don't say that's wrong. And more Eastern thought, some people may say you want to either transcend it. I think the courses, I think it may be in the middle, but just to realize that we do come out of our ego more, even more than we probably are conscious of, is the first step, I think, towards spiritual growth. And so people who have had NDEs, people who have had contact with off-world intelligences, or maybe you want to call them paranormal experiences, sometimes they talk about the transformation that occurred afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
There's more love of the earth. There's less belief in the illusion of separation.
Right.
Life is lived more simplistically. There's more of a sense of oneness. These are all very powerful transformational experiences that people undergo. So it's good to know about that.
Yeah, and when I say ego, I'm talking about there's a difference. There's the ego that we all have that we need to survive and interface with the world, but there's also that other ego that says, I need to make some money, so I'm going to write a UFO book, or something like that. That it's a money-making scheme or something that's going to benefit him alone and not the whole bunch.
Right. I see that as an example, and also of just that ego when you're coming out of fear, you're coming out of scarcity, and so you just kind of. You get into that survival mode and you just treat people like things. And that's what I'm talking about as well. This ego thing where I got to get mine, but because there's not enough to go around. It manifests in so many different ways. So I'm hearing you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if people would realize that, they would understand that they don't have to dump their personality. That's what the ego is in psychology. It's our interface with people.
Yes, it's the false personality, right? It's that.
It's kind of like we're not going to accomplish anything until we have this thing called groupthink, where we're all together, and we can think about ideas and develop ideas together. Because alone, it's a losing battle.
Exactly. But I think we're getting there. It's just a lot of upheaval you have to go through to let go. What's the old adage? An intelligent person learns something new every day. A wise person lets something go every day. It's you just get kind of lighter because you're not in control.
Yeah. You know what? I wanted to ask you if you could go over your contact experience for people, because it's been a while since I've had you on. We have a new audience, and it's something that you don't talk about on Ancient Aliens or anything.
Right.
A situation like this and an intimate get-together,
yes,
people might want to hear it. I think it's an interesting story.
Okay. I'll give you the truncated version. And when I was a child, it started then. But as Kierkegaard said, life is lived forward, but only understood backwards. So I'm looking back now. I had all these. I could see things, I would see these spheres of light, and they would be different colors, and they'd be all around me and in my room, and I would just follow them with my eyes, but no one else saw them. And so I thought everybody saw these things, and I could see auras around people, which I still do. So I'm saying that probably was the beginning, because I think those spheres of light were consciousness. They just were not in a body. But then when I went to, December 28, 1989, talk about it in my first book, I went to Chichen Itza and Tulum to see the pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with my girlfriend at the time, who became my first wife later on. And so when we got back from seeing the pyramids, I went to a party. It was in Times Square, and I did not have any alcoholic beverages. I was exhausted, but I went because I wanted to show off my tan. It was freezing in New York, as Bill, it can be.
Oh yeah.
In December, and I wanted to go and show off my tan. I was exhausted, but I went, and I went. I had some deviled eggs. I had some finger food. I stayed about 90 minutes, and I headed back uptown. But that evening, I went to bed, and we were going to sleep. And I usually sleep on my stomach, and I felt a presence in the room. This is the Excelsior Hotel. It's at 45 West 81st Street in Manhattan, between Columbus and the Park, and on the 15th floor. It's a residential hotel. So I turn around, and I don't know why. I don't remember going to the bathroom or anything, and there was a being at the edge of my bed. And I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was so frightened. And the being, first of all, it was like daylight in my room. This being had a silver jumpsuit on, like a Reynolds wrap kind of jumpsuit, form-fitting, very thin, had the pear-shaped head, was more chalk-colored than gray. Maybe 4 feet tall, tops. And there was a white light around him, and there was a cobalt blue light around that light. Beautiful, looking back. And I thought my heart was going to jump out of my chest. And so what I did was I pulled the covers up over my head, hoping it would go away. Now, at the time, Sandy, who I'm still very close friends with, she either could not or did not wake up. Through the whole thing, she's lying next to me, but did not wake up. And so I pulled the covers up over my head, and I heard this whoosh, whoosh, like this swooshing sound, and it felt like I was outside. I was freezing. And, maybe I was. Maybe they took me right. I don't know. But when I pulled the covers down, no one was there.
Wow.
No one was there. And this started happening every full moon and every new moon for about 8 months, maybe even a year. And they would come like clockwork. And I, up until maybe a few years ago, I finally, literally, could turn the lights out and go to sleep. I used to wait till the last minute, and then I turned the light out because of the trauma.
Right.
Now, the trauma was, yes, it was real, but it wasn't because they did anything to hurt me. It was the fear that was generated, that someone could walk through your wall or just come in your house. But what they taught me was many things, but what that taught me was, in order for me to transcend the fear, and I went to therapy, it took me 20 years, but it made me look at my life and go, where else in your life, Michael, do you let fear get in the way? And of course, there were so many.
Yeah,
because they did not hurt me. I mean, one time they hurt me, and I asked them not to, and they did listen. So I can't say, and when I say they, I'm talking specifically about these brothers. And I just say brothers because I didn't feel any female energy. They may have been, but I didn't see it or feel it. But then again, who knows? When you're afraid, you don't feel anything but fear. So I'm just using the term as an endearing one because they are beings, they are people. But when they stuck a needle in my head, in the back of my head once, and it was excruciating. And a friend of mine said, you need to tell them, I don't know how you do it in your meditations or whatever, that's not acceptable. And I did. First I was like, well, they're going to listen to me. But they did. But the needle that they stuck in my head, they stuck in that little place in the back of your head. It's like a hollow there where your neck and your head,
I can feel it, right.
Yeah. It's like, and it made me really intuitive afterwards. I don't know whether you can get to the pituitary from there, but that's where they put it. But that was mostly the fear of the unknown, and it was the fear of them coming in. And then, I told you I saw the reptilians twice, and then back in a few years ago, I had my that healing experience. So, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. But it got my attention.
Yeah, and look at you now, right? I mean, you're following that path.
I'm following the path but I had a choice. I could have just said no or what have you, but I'm following the path that I believe I need to follow. I'm a much less fearful person now. I'm a much more person willing to look at my own foibles, to love. I don't have the baggage that I had. I'm not perfect, whatever that's supposed to mean. But it was a transformation, which is why I'm so honored about writing the chapter. It really, really changed me, I think, for the better, and it accelerated my spiritual growth. But I did see those three races. I saw they weren't gray, but they had that phenotype. They were more chalk colored, but let's say grays, because they're different species of gray. So I saw the grays, I saw the reptilians twice, and I saw twice the Nordic blonde, blue-eyed folks. So it's been a journey.
What was your experience with the reptilians?
It was much like them, the grays, in the sense that I was living in the same place. One of them was a physical, come through the wall, touch me kind of thing. He looked like an alligator. He looked like he had a tail. He looked like Spider-Man with that grayish green scaly skin, very muscular. The eyes were beautiful. Now I can say they were beautiful.
Right.
Like a cat's eyes. The pupils were yellow, and they were that's vertical. And talked through telepathy. As a matter of fact, I'll never forget what he said, because first he said, "Don't be afraid." He touched me. And he said, "You're going to be rich and famous," which has yet to happen. That was the first one. And he walked right through my wall. He walked in and he walked out. 15th floor of the Excelsior Hotel. The other one was one of those vivid dreams where there was a knock at my door. And when I went in that apartment, and I went and opened the door, and there were two reptilians standing at the door. Now, I say it was a dream. I was awake in the dream. But a friend of mine told me this. He said, "Michael, with dreams, there's distortion. There's a lot of, it's almost other dimensional kind of stuff." But he said, "But when you told me your dream, everything was the way it was in your house. You had to get up, you put on your robe. You didn't have all that. And you opened the door and the Excelsior." He said, "So that really wasn't a dream." He said, "If you have a dream and everything," and this is a person who's an experiencer, and in your dream, your stove is right where it is in real time, your door is right, your clothes. He said, "That's not a dream. That's real."
Yeah, Julia, you've had several dreams like that, haven't you? They're your contact dreams.
Well,
yes. That's a good way to put it.
Oh, I have I think they give me screen memories, because I remember in my dream being in my house and them coming, and then all this, I'll feel like I'm leaving my body. I'll feel something strange.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden sometimes it's an office, literally an office with computers and desks, and they're giving me a message. It's a person. It doesn't look like an alien. It's a person giving me a message. And one time I was on a ship, and it looked like an old office, like from the 1930s, and there were two guys, and they were showing me the windows were like bubbles, and they were showing me the stars, and I would see frequency, like a radio frequency.
Wow.
And they told me that's what you hear when I have a lot of buzzing in my ears and a lot of stuff that goes on. And they said it's them giving me downloads. It's the sound of the universe that I'm picking up, because my frequency is changing, so I'm picking that up a lot. So I had a lot of dreams. Now, I had a really cool dream when I asked, before you go to bed, if you want to know who your guides are, there is a prayer. You thank them and you invite them. You have to invite them, because they won't come unless they're invited. So, you invite them to come. And of course you say, I just want anything to come to me that's of my highest good and of Christ consciousness. You don't, if you don't believe, Christ is an ascended master, you could say Buddha, but you just want that high consciousness. You don't want anything that's going to hurt you or be negative. So, and you just invite them and ask who are my guides, and please come in a way that I can recognize you by name in my dreams. So I did that one night, and I had a dream where I got two names, but they were I didn't see them as they truly looked as angels. I saw Archangel Michael. I walked into a theater and there was a guy with dark curly hair, which is totally not Archangel Michael. He's got like this huge long blonde hair and magnificent face and body, but he was like this just an actor. And he turned around and he said, "I'm Michael." And then the next scene, I'm walking on the street and I hear Gabriel. I hear, that name. And then this woman said, there's a baby carriage. And I was assuming that Gabriel was in the baby carriage because I heard the name, and all of a sudden this woman shows up. And I see there's a baby, but the baby's reptilian, a light skin, like a light green reptilian, but it wasn't evil. And so I have a problem with I still kind of have a problem with that, but I went to two very good friends that did psychic readings on me, Akashic record readings, and they didn't know each other. And they both came up with Archangel Michael and Gabriel. Archangel Michael is like when we have a guide, we're like an aspect of them. And I'm born in March, and my aura is light blue, and Michael is blue. His energy. So, there's everybody has different guides. So it's just interesting because it kind of all came together. And I have asked for help. One time I had a really bad ascension symptoms where my stomach hurts so bad, and I asked Michael and Gabriel to assist me. That's before I knew about Raphael, who's the healer, Archangel Raphael. So they helped me out, but they're not to be worshipped. They don't want to be worshipped. They're just there to help you. And of course I have my Palladian and my Syrian. I'm a Syrian starseed, so I know I have Syrian guides. But I'm learning how to do this myself. Like when I'm in distress or whatever, I'm learning how to bring my higher self down. And that's what they were backing away for a little bit because I was depending on them too much. So that's part of ascension is getting your sovereignty and then you have to discern, right, Michael? Reverend Carter, you have to discern. You get a lot of information all the time, and you could be getting wrong information. And there's beings that disguise themselves. And that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you was all these different beings that we had, as far as we know, we have, Buddha, he did it himself. I don't think he had any visitors. He kind of went on his own journey. But I think when you have Jesus, and then or Yeshua, and then you have the Prophet Muhammad. So all through the Bible, you're getting all these visitations from different messengers.
Yes.
And now we're in a situation where we have the Muslims, not all the Muslims, but you have the militant Muslims, you have wars, all these wars based on religion. You have the Jewish people, you have the Muslims, you have the Christians all fighting each other. And now, actually, I used to think Buddhists never fought. Now you have the Buddhists actually doing nasty stuff too. In I forget that country's name, not Bhutan, the other one.
It begins with an R. No, yeah, well, Myanmar.
Myanmar. So
Myanmar.
So I wonder. I know there's good and bad in every race, in the galaxy as well as on Earth. So I'm wondering if you feel these different visitations were done on purpose to cause strife, so they can control us, the ones that do.
Yeah, you know,
Or is it just us?
I don't believe. Okay, let me listen to what you just said. Hold on, I'm just playing in my head.
Is it our interpretation to get our own power, like how the Catholic? Because I really feel that the Catholic Church, that they took so much out of the New Testament. They took a lot of what he said. Like unless you really have a personal relationship with Yeshua, they really took a lot of his message out, and we're finding bits and pieces of it. But I think it's when we want to get power over people, we start, talking about heaven and hell, and we start talking about, well, you have to give us money, and then it becomes us and them instead of that's why I love Unitarian, because it just brings everybody together.
Yeah, I'm still trying to answer your first question. Okay, this is what I feel. I don't know. I feel that way back when, I think that there were some intelligences that were about divide and conquer. We could argue about Yahweh.
Yes.
We could argue because he's saying, and Zechariah Sitchin's work talks about. There's one wonderful book called The Wars of Gods and Men, where these gods, ETs, had armies who took sides with them. That was clearly divide and conquer. But these were specific races, right? So that's one piece of it, because there's many layers. When Jesus comes along, and I'm sure there were people there that we don't know about, but before him, and there are some stories that say that there are parts of Buddhism and Tibetan Buddhism and what have you, where they do focus on otherworldly beings that we would probably call interdimensional, what have you. And then we have Jesus who comes along. I'm not saying he's the only one. He's the one that's revered here in the West. And one could argue that he's talking about a different race, because he's talking about the love ethic, very different from Judaism, in the sense of early Judaism, from my studies, was very legalistic. That's why you have all these thou shalt nots.
Right.
Okay. And then Jesus comes along and says, well, no, now you got to bring your A game, because I'm bringing the love ethic now. Now we're going to talk about love in the context of justice. The 5th century prophets would talk, Amos and Jeremiah and Zechariah. They're talking about what is justice. And then Jesus comes along and says, well, there's got to be, of course, Buddha, 500 years before Jesus, compassion. They're talking about compassion. Well, compassion for them is love in the Western sense. And so Jesus is saying, now you got to have a little love mixed in with this, because justice just becomes an eye for an eye, and who gets to say what justice means? But we know that Jesus at least hung out with star people. I would argue that he was a hybrid, but even without that, he's hanging out with star people, and he's talking about the love ethic, which is could be a different race of extraterrestrials. Yep. So I don't think it's so cut and dry. We definitely know that there are entities who don't have the highest good and will feed on fear. But fear divides. Fear divides. There are some people who do it intentionally. And there's some people who, we see it in the Bible. We see it in the Quran. We see where they get a message and they interpret it a different way.
Right.
And so it may not be the fault of the messenger, but it may be the way the people who receive that message choose to and take it, like you talk about some people in the Catholic Church. Yeah, because knowledge is power, and if we can keep knowledge from people, then we have something over them. But I don't know if it's as simple as saying one group intentionally did this, and so one group may have done that and this is the result. But I think it's a too simplistic kind of paradigm, because see, we're so used to either good or bad, wrong or
really
right.
Not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gray areas.
And you don't want to think in those kind of dualistic or pluralistic ways. I hope that was helpful.
Oh yeah, because I definitely felt that there was wars going on, from what I understand. There were galactic wars that were happening between the reptilians, the Dracos, and the Syrians and the Pleiadians. And a lot of the Pleiadians and the Syrians came down here and seeded us. And there were obviously civilizations like Atlantis, before we were actually. So we're like the genetics of everybody. But, so, and then, of course, you're talking about Enki and Enlil, the sons of Anu. They were the Anunnaki. And I believe Yahweh was Anunnaki. And it's but also Jesus said a lot of stuff like, you can do all these things and even more. And, he was letting us know that we could be like him. He actually was the first. Well, he wasn't the first. I think there were other people, obviously Buddha, but he ascended. And we're going through that now. We're going through our Christ consciousness. So I think it's pretty cool, because I think right now the ascension process, the way it's going, is people are getting their own power back, and they're not believing in some of the old, the matrix, the way things were twisted. And now they're coming to understand that we're all connected, and there is a source, there is a creator, a source, and it's love, and it's unconditional love. And when you go through the process of, like, my process this year was meditation and transmuting and transforming a lot of my negative feelings, overcoming them, doing a lot of shadow work. And there's been a tremendous change. I used to think very negative all the time, and now I think positive, and it's actually showing in my life in so many ways, financial, relationship-wise. The radio show's doing really well. So, I think we can take our own power back and realize that when we change ourselves, we are the change that we're looking for. So if we want a peaceful world and we want a world in unity, then we need to work on ourselves first and change our negative thinking and really love ourselves. We're taught to really love others, and not, it's conceited to really love yourself. But we really have to learn that, we have to love ourselves first and heal ourselves before we can branch out there.
No, you're right, Julia.
Isn't that true?
That's a basic concept in psychology.
The oxygen mask. We have to do the oxygen mask first, before we give it to everybody else.
Right. But you have to recharge yourself, because if you're not good for yourself, how good are you going to be for other people? You've got to be fully charged and ready to go. And I do believe you're correct, Julia.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I preach that almost every Sunday, Julia. And I'm thinking of the Rumi quotes in some way, shape, or form. When I was young and clever, I wanted to change the world. Now I'm wise, and I just need to change myself. And as the Gandhi quote, be the change you want to see. You want more love, then be more loving. That's
exactly.
it.
And it does work.
Yeah, it does. It depends on where one is on their journey too, because the people that are not there, they're just teaching us how to accept, because everybody's not as evolved, just like there are people more evolved than us, and a lot of people get frustrated with that message, at least in my experience, because they're thinking, with all the problems in the world, I don't have time to sit here and navel gaze. And they don't get it that you're not navel gazing. You can still go out and march and write letters to your congressperson or what have you, but you do it with a different spirit when you've worked on yourself. And but I know, at least in my experience, people, and a lot of people want to change the world because they don't want to look at themselves. See, if I'm concentrating on other people's stuff, I don't have to look at mine. And because it's hard.
Right.
It's hard to look at yourself, warts and all. But I agree with you, and I think that the people who are more evolved than we are or lesser evolved, they're there to teach us lessons too. And one of those lessons, I think, is acceptance, because it's easy to get into, we talked about ego an hour ago. The ego can be very subtle. And we could be saying, well, we're spiritually evolved and what have you, but really we're saying, if only everybody thought like us, the world would be a better place. That's ego. That's ego. But it can hide behind righteousness.
Absolutely. Everybody thinks they're right, and that's not unity.
Right. And what the ego, but you said it, you hit the nail on the head. Once you give up needing to be right, you have conquered the ego. Once you don't have to be right, because a lot of people, it's just natural. I was talking to this guy the other day. He came up to shake my hand after the service, and I had made mention that for me, and I said, for me, guys, that I don't know if there's an exalted reason for living. I believe that life is to be lived. That's what life is for, to be lived, to be experienced. And I think sometimes that if you go around looking for the meaning in life, you can life will pass you by because the meaning is right in front of you. Yeah, now, that's my opinion. Yeah. So this guy came up to me and he said, I'm going to push back a little with you. And I said, that's fine. He said, I disagree. There is a meaning to life. And I said, well, that's great. That's great. I'm glad you found that for yourself. And he said, well, I want to discuss it. And I said, well, you can discuss it with who you want. I don't need to discuss it. I was just telling you my truth, and you're sharing me with yours. He said, no, but I think we should sit down. And I said, I don't need to discuss it. But my point being is that I felt, and I could be wrong, that basically behind all that discussion was that he wanted to convince me that he was right. And then it's not fun anymore. You ever been in a conversation with someone and all of a sudden you feel like you're being, it gets a little overbearing, like I can't have my belief. And so that's the ego. And a lot of people, they come to this planet, they don't realize it, but the biggest thing for them to do is to be right. I have to be right. But once you can give that up, once you can say, okay, fine, if it means that much to you, you're right.
Yeah, right.
You've given up the ego.
It's so funny. I just had a family thing a couple weeks ago, and my two brothers are born-again Jews.
Yes.
They're fundamentalist, Messianic. So, we have differences of opinion. So, this one girl was there at their house, and my brother was talking to her about vibration and different things. And I got into the conversation because, I was talking about, well, if you have high vibrations, you attract better things into your life, low vibration, so we were talking like that. So, she knew I wasn't a part of their church. So she questioned me. And in the old days, I'd get really mad, but I've really, that's where the ego comes in. It's like, I didn't have to be right. I let her talk. Yes. And then I responded like, I just feel unconditional love. And it's all about unconditional love. It's really, that's where my concentration's on, not the heaven and hell thing, because I don't believe that you're going there. And she started she pointed her finger at me. Young girl. I mean, I'm 56. This girl is 28. She's pointing her finger at me. And she's saying Romans, you know how they Romans 4:54, you know how they
they'll quote the Bible
several times. She pointed her fingers at me, and honestly, I was ready to bat her over the head, but I didn't do that because that's like the worst thing you could do to somebody. First of all, I have read it in the past, but I don't read it regularly, so it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't believe it's 100% true. And I said, I just really didn't respond. The only thing I said was, I don't really read it, so it doesn't really have any meaning for me, but it's all about unconditional love. She could not fight me because that's all I talked about was unconditional love. I didn't say she was wrong. Yeah. I just said it's all about. So she eventually walked out of the room. There was nothing more. But in the old days, I would have been like, boom, boom, boom.
Oh,
boom,
you would have been banging the table. Right?
Yeah, it's like I didn't have to be right. I just, let her talk. And I said, well, it's all about unconditional love. And I just smiled at her.
Yes.
But I wanted to bite her finger off. I really did. I hate that. It's so disrespectful to anybody to point a finger at anyone. Yeah. But I to me, that's not getting, if you're a born again Christian and you're like putting those Bible verses out, it doesn't mean anything to the person you're saying it to. So if you want them to really believe in Christ, then be a nice person, be a generous person, show that love.
Yeah.
That I got total judgment from this girl. So I was like, that's the last place I want to be. And of course I look at Yeshua as ascended masters. So I don't really, it's not a worshiping thing for me, but I do believe God's, there is a God and we're all part of it. So we have two opposing things, but I let her talk because otherwise neither one of us would get anywhere. It would be an argument. My family would be upset. Let her talk.
Yeah.
And she had to leave the room because there was nothing. How could you fight unconditional love?
Well, that's the thing. You gave her the basic premise of both of your beliefs.
Right.
And how can you argue the truth?
Yeah. I mean, listen, and Yeshua talked about that, with the Sanhedrin and Sadducees and Pharisees. That it's the spirit of the law is what's more important. If you're just legalistic, there's no compassion, exactly. There's no love. But the other thing is this: I believe, Michael believes. Not saying you have to believe it. That I know what people believe by how they treat me.
Right.
And how they treat the earth. You can go to the temple, you can go to shul, you can go to the mosque. I think a wise rabbi once said that, by their fruit you shall know them.
Exactly.
But you really know what people believe by the way they live and the way they interact. So she can quote Bible verses out the yin yang, but until she can look at herself, right, and make those changes, it's just that. And you see, you're right. You change the vibration, and see, when you're vibrating on that lower level, you can't be around the higher vibration. It's disconcerting to you. So she had to leave the room.
I've had other circumstances with people. I wasn't even arguing with them. We weren't even talking. They just had to leave.
Yeah.
And my friend said they can't stand your frequency. It's too high.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this woman had problems that I didn't even know her, but my friend knew her and said, it happens a lot. And, I just want to spread the good vibrations to the people that have low vibrations so they can be happy.
Yeah.
But so that's like so the other thing I just wanted to bring about is like it's the November 11th gateway, and for us in the New Age kind of world, that's when the portal comes is the thickest for manifestation. So all day today I was meditating and thinking about all the things I want. So. So, it was really, really good. And I just want to put a shout out to anyone that wants to do really, really incredible meditation where you really feel energy. I mean, this guy, I feel so much energy, and I'm so happy when I'm done the meditation. I really resonated. There's nothing that's creepy or weird. It's like really good. His name's Steve Noble, Nobel. He's on YouTube, and you just put his name, Steve, Steve Noble. Out of all the meditations that I've done, I think he's the best. He brings all the archangels in, and it's all good, and all the chakra clearings. So, you know, if you're into that, I highly recommend him. I get clearings like every other day. I'll do a meditation with him, and I'm just like floating. So I did it today with two of my girlfriends. We did like a Skype call with Steve with this meditation, and we all have this dream where we want to open up a ranch in Sedona, and we want to have like a meditation retreat. I could do the radio show from Sedona. So
that'd be awesome.
We were asking for that. You know, and of course, you know, at this moment, the finances aren't there, so we were asking for the abundance, so we could do it, unlimited abundance. So that would be amazing. So I'll live part-time in Philly and part-time Sedona. That's my dream. So so that's it. So, you know, that was just a plug. So I'm good with the ascension. That's pretty much everything I wanted to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, you know, to kind of put my 2 cents in, especially, I mean, one of the ways that you can teach someone, you know, your belief without interfering or causing them to get mad, you know, live it, be peaceful, show them that, you know, your beliefs aren't that far off because, hey, both of you are peaceful. But I think she wanted to bite your finger off too. She did. And the reason why she didn't is because, well, you told her the truth. And that's the same.
Unconditional love, and I just was radiating love.
Yeah,
I was
it's
radiating
the same
love.
truth.
She
Right.
didn't bother me, and she felt it. And there's nothing there, you know. It's nothing more to.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
It's it's funny how we have so many different beliefs in the world, and when I used to talk with my friends about this a lot. When you boil it down, when you take a look at everything, the premise, the purpose, it comes down to love, respect, and caring. Yeah.
Yes, it does, and making that, trying to make it clear what that will look like in the world. You know, because you know, we can talk about love, but then you got to say, okay, what does love look like in this situation? Would it be feeding the homeless? Would it be health care? Would it be would it not be sexual harassment? I mean, I'm just using the hot topics that are out there today. But, you know, you have to say, well, what does love look like? Because it's otherwise you don't know how to, it becomes more of a feeling than an activity.
Right.
It's a verb.
Yeah.
Love is a verb. So what would love look like? Because, you know, it has to be put out in the world. It just can't be something that I'm feeling, because then it's kind of narcissistic. It's just that I'm feeling this, but the rest of the world isn't. But that's okay because I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
So it's always about what does love look like in this situation? Is it building a bridge? Is it feeding someone? Is it donating to a charity? Is it volunteering? Otherwise, it just gets to be just this kind of cute little word we all use without putting it into practice.
Yeah. Well, I think to define it, you have to live it.
No question.
And that's how the other person really, I mean, you know, if someone, you know, is really giving you a hard time over religion or anything, and they're looking for an argument, religious, that is, expressing love any way you can.
Yeah.
Hold their shoulder, get them a drink of water.
Well, like Julia did.
All kinds of stuff. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly what she did.
The love was, I'll listen to you. That's a gift. How many people really listen to each other now? I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to try and fix you, but I'll listen to you. But also, love is, I need to have that reciprocated.
Right.
Yeah, that has to be reciprocated.
And here it is. Yeah. I don't want to bring rock and roll into a serious discussion.
Why not? That's serious.
But yeah. John Lennon said it. The love you take is equal to the love you make.
Yeah. And because a lot of people. That's a great quote, Michael. A lot of people don't. If I don't know how to love me, I'm not going to be able to love you.
That's the message, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of times, if I can't accept love in my life, I don't know what to do with it when it comes. I forget, what's the old quote about yours is not to seek for love, but yours is to seek for all the ways in which you block love. I'm paraphrasing, from coming into your life. And so if I can't lead where I haven't been. So if I don't know how to accept love, I'm not going to know how to give it.
Yeah.
And you meet people like that, and you can see the wound in them. And we all have our wounds. And so sometimes instead of it can pluck your nerves, but sometimes it can bring up the empathy that this person is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to be able to see them coming from that place.
And all of that confusion, someone desperately trying to find an answer and arguing about it with everybody who doesn't agree with what they're looking for. Yes. It can cause some serious problems. There are mental health issues that take place, chronic depression. I've seen people on the edge of suicide because they didn't know their purpose.
Yeah.
And, wow.
No, it's serious stuff. And we live in a culture where the culture's not going to tell you what your purpose is. Not that it has to, but it's not going to support you. So you got to say, well, where can I get this support? Maybe I can join a gang. Maybe I can join a white supremacist thing or a black nationalist thing. Where can I go where like-minded people can gather, where I can be supportive? Because if you don't have a self, if you don't have an identity, you have to get it from other places.
Yeah. And those are in psychology, those are the minds we try to reach.
Yes.
And it's dangerous. It's dangerous for them, and it's dangerous for us. Yes. Every time that happens, it holds us back one step from really getting together.
Yeah. But it's part of the journey. And it can make you compassionate because you realize it's difficult being a human being. To get this body on and come here in this heavy, dense, vibrational kind of environment, it's difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In my Catholic faith, I look at Christ's coming as God's way of figuring out what it's like to be human, because we see all of that love and compassion and everything develop over time, and that's the message when he leaves to go back to his Father. That's what he leaves us, and God knows what it's like to be human, and we need to realize that.
Yeah, it is really, it can be a challenge.
It really does. It really can be. And, God, in the sense of whoever you worship.
Yeah.
Because like I said, God has many faces.
There you go. Yeah. And once again, Michael, I know we're wrapping up. I just want to thank, you and Bill and Julia, not just for having me on the show. I'm always appreciative, but just, this is what you're doing. You're changing consciousness. You're raising the vibration. And those who can roll with you, they will. And those who don't, they go elsewhere, and you bless them.
Right.
But you're being the change. You're raising the vibration, and I just want to wish you, as well as happy Thanksgiving to all of you, but just continued success with what you're doing.
Yeah,
It
makes
makes a
you're
difference.
welcome.
that is our one and only goal, and that is to try and hit the truth and broadcast the love, and let people know that it's okay to feel what you feel. It's okay if people make fun of you for being abducted. It all makes sense in the end.
Yeah, and that people are loved and supported.
Right. They really are. All they need to do is seek them out.
Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful show. I can't believe it went by so fast.
Yeah, it always
interesting
does.
Guest, Michael. Always interesting.
It's always a pleasure. I like. It's interesting. The people still listening. We were talking about our week, and the energy level probably it's been higher. But I like the fact that it wasn't an agenda. We always are going to talk on spiritual subjects, but it just kind of flowed. It was a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, okay, I wanted to ask him this question and I needed to get a book plugged, or even though I want people to go to Amazon and buy my books, but it wasn't that kind of, okay, we got to get this done in 2 hours.
Be casual.
Yes. Yeah, I like it.
Well, I think every show is spiritual in a sense, not just that we do, but, especially in this field, because, the spirit is with us because that's what it's about. We're looking at spirits and souls from other places in the universe, and we're learning how to deal with them. And pretty soon the rest of the world will be wanting to do that too. Yeah. So it's good to have people like us around. I don't want to toot my own horn.
Well,
the station's own horn. I just hope we can reach them. That's my goal.
Well, I think that you're doing it, and
it's good to know.
Well, your numbers show it. You're doing well. The numbers are not going to lie, and people are. They're listening. They're thinking. They may not even agree, but that's all you're asking people to do is to open your heart, open your mind. If it doesn't work for you, fine. But here's a different perspective. Try that on. See how that fits.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. That's all it is. Because as who is it? Picard on Star Trek, I saw on YouTube, he was saying, life. I love him. He's a philosopher. Life is choice. Life is about making decisions.
That's right.
And some of the decisions you learn from, and some of them, you learn from all of them, but you got to make choices. And at least any mistakes that come along will be your mistakes, not someone else's mistakes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
It was beautiful.
Well, speaking of numbers, we're running out of them here. So
I know.
I just wanted to bring us together to say, good night and God bless everyone. Julia, Bill, and Michael, you're welcome to come on the show. Anytime. Just let me know, and I will make room for you.
All right, brother. Well, I'll probably call you when I get back from the conference. Well,
that sounds great.
And we'll both have stuff to talk about with the.
And happy
Beautiful.
Thanksgiving to everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you.
Oh, and before we disconnect, we will be playing a show next week. We're not going to be live. The following week is Thanksgiving week, and the station is closed. Now, December 2nd is going to be the big date coming up, because that is where we are going to be broadcasting live from Bill's Skywatch.
Yep.
And we're going to have a special guest. Mark D'Antonio is going to be up there, and he'll give us a couple of pointers on how to find things in the sky. Pretty neat.
Definitely.
Nice.
Well, good night, everyone.
Good night, my friend. I thank you.
Love